So as you may or may not know, the other day I managed to make a guff up on the installation of one of the rear wheel bearings. So I thought I'd do a quick video on it so that you don't make the same silly mistake as I did. Okay, this is the bum assembly, and as you can see it's really difficult to turn, so it's not like a wheel bearing at all. And that's because this little bearing seal plate is on the wrong way around. Now this is a good assembly, and if you look at the lip you can see it's the correct way around on this good version. And it's this way around on the bad one, and it's putting force on the seal in this direction, causing it to be ultra stiff to rotate. So the only remedy now is to rip it all off. So the bearing is a 3-piece arrangement, and the first step here is to simply press the rear hub downwards while supporting the middle race of the bearing. This is kind of the setup I would use. Depending upon how long the bearing has been on there, you might need a ton or two to get it off. So there you go, that little operation removes the top race, the bearing seal and the middle race all in one go. The problem now is how to get the inner race off, but before we do that, what we want to do with this 0 miles perfect condition bearing? Throw it in the bin. So back to the problem with the inner race, which has no real obvious means of removal apart from cutting it off. So with the hub held in a vice, the bearing seal can be ripped free. Be sure not to hurt that little seal plate that's tucked in behind it. Okay, with this now removed, that can also be stored in the bin. So this is what you're left with, and you can clearly see the offending article which has to be removed. An important thing to note is you don't seem to be able to buy these off the shelf, so look after them as they are annoyingly critical to this thing operating properly. Gently prise this plate off and put it somewhere safe. There you go, all that drama just for that little plate. Next up is to grind the inner bearing race off. I used a Dremel here with a cutting disc to carefully make a groove into the steel by taking my time as not to cut into the hub itself. Stop and check the progress here and there. It's one of these jobs where patience really pays off, and it only took me 2 to 3 minutes to grind this. What you're looking to do is remove just enough material so that the bearing race cracks on its own volition. So this wasn't even staged. I heard a little crack which made me stop, and then it cracked again. Perfect. And this is where you want to get a chisel. You should be able to just redraw it. Just like that. So guess where that goes? In the bin. And as you can see, just a little bit of time, and there's no nicks or damage to that hub face at all. The next job is now to refit the seal plate the correct way around this time. So after making sure that the plate is now on the right way round, first thing to do is to clean the spindle off of any rubbish and so forth before we press the bearing on. The bearing seal needs to go on as well, and that will have to be centralised as we're pushing the bearing in. And finally the first race that needs to be pressed on. This also needs to go around the correct way, and it's pretty hard to get it around the wrong way, but as you can see the writing here, that goes down like that. So getting everything square is essential, and just going to press this down just to get it on the shaft first. It's not quite straight. Okay, so you see, it's gone on quite easy. I'm going to get it all the way down, but we don't want to press it all the way in case our bearing seal here isn't centered. So what I do now is lift that up and make sure that's in position and just keep pushing down. Always keeping sure that the seal is nice and centered, and you'll feel it so we're not trapped in here basically, so that can rattle around. You can feel the pressure going up. I give it about a ton, no more. It looks like it's loose, which is what fooled me the first time round, but it isn't. It's actually in place. So we can take the pressure off that now. So as I was saying, that was what fooled me the first time round. You can see this bouncing around. As long as it's not pinched by the bearing, you're okay. But yeah, there you go. So now I've packed out the bearing with grease. It's time for the inner race, which just locates on there, and then we can push in the last bearing race. Again, this has to go the correct way round, otherwise you're in big trouble. And it is obviously with the writing on the top side this time. So again, it's just a case of getting that nicely level. I'm going to put a bit of aluminium in there and start pressing this into place. There you go, it's nice and easy. Now you can't overdo this. Well, I suppose you actually could, but I usually stop at about 2 tons on this and make sure it's fully bedded in, but you won't crush the race. So that looks like about it now. Quick check. Bearing runs nice and free. And just try and finish it off. A couple of tons. And you can see the bearing still runs free with 2 tons of force on it. Let's take that out. So when you fit that middle race, it's essential that the seal actually sits inside that little lip there. So that's completely bearing. As you can see, the outer race actually sits slightly proud of the splined part there. So now I've got 2 good bearing assemblies ready to go back on the car. This was a fairly expensive mistake to make, so I hope this video clears a few things up and helps someone in the future. As always, thanks for watching.